Hello everyone, this is Teddy Keckstedt from Forex Trading Unlocked, and we're here on September 1st with the live Forex trading and cryptocurrency trading analysis for you. We have our disclaimer up just to remind you that this webinar is for illustrative and educational purposes only. And real quick, we want to give you a quick plug for the book High Probable Japanese Candlestick Patterns, available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle versions, written by yours truly, Teddy Keckstedt. And also, please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Forex Trading Unlocked, or our Twitch channel, depending on what kind of viewer you are. All right, we have the Forex-Trading-Unlocked.com website pulled up. From the navigation bar, we already have the workstation page up for you, and we go down to our charts. The dollar index yesterday prodded some new lows. It had a nice bounce, only settled slightly lower on the day, and then today, for the most part, it was trading pretty strong, and then it collapsed before the US markets opened. So we're going to take a look at what's going on in the major currency crosses today. All right, the Euro US dollar did probe a higher move high today. The trend in the short run, and obviously the hourly and daily, is very strong. However, the intermediate trend is lower. The question is are we going to maintain strength, or are we hitting that spot where we run out of gas? Well, if you use a Fibonacci level here, this last swing high is definitely a breakout level. Okay, so let's move this over here. As far as the 0.618, we've already pierced that. We're just falling below the 0.7816. So as far as on a Fibonacci level, if this is just a corrective move, we should be stalling and running out of gas and looking for a sell signal. Let's take a look at the hourly. Do we have a sell signal forming here? Well, let's see. It's 9:10. I guess we made a higher move high in the last hour. If we can settle lower than the opening here and get a bearish engulfing line, maybe we get a short-term sell signal. We may have seen the last bit of momentum against the dollar for the day. The U.S. markets are now open. We are coming in front of a holiday market. Remember that we have unemployment on Friday in front of a holiday market. It's a number that definitely is something you need to pay attention to and watch. So, all right, now let's take a look at what we're where the momentum is. So we got it. Nice little higher move high situation going on here. Intraday, it's very, very strong. So I'd be very careful trying to sell into this market right now. Wait for a reason to sell, at least on the hourly basis or daily basis, before you try and get in front of this. Momentum looks like it's, well, obviously it is, to the bearish side for the US dollar versus most of the major currency crosses, but not in a big way. And we're going to see how this is manifesting. Remember that right now we are coming off of a lower move low in the Euro US dollar. We have yet to make a higher move high. Now we did take out this one right here, but this is a small swing high. This swing high at 119.10, this is what's necessary to confirm at least a neutral, not necessarily bullish outlook for the Euro US dollar. Okay, now let's go to the GBP US dollar. The pound, however, isn't coming off of a lower move low. It's coming off of a higher move low. So as far as a base, this low here is supporting the neutral to higher trade for the British pound US dollar. It is coming into an area of very strong resistance. Now the pound has been a very big bull versus the dollar for a while. So you can see how we may brush up against this downward sloping resistance line that's been keeping the short-term trend intact over the summer lower. Or by attrition, we may just come through it. So don't get too bullish just because we get above this line, not necessarily break out above this line, but get above it. So meaning, in other words, if we go down in the next week and we keep going sideways, by attrition, we're going to come through this. If we get a continuation of bullish momentum over the next few trading sessions and breach this area, that's a totally different story. But then it puts us just into the middle of the range that we've basically been in for the whole summer. We're coming off the bottom. But the key thing is, after making longer term lower move lows, lower move highs, we made a higher move low right here. The question is will we take out this high here? Is there really that kind of strength? With lockdowns coming across the globe, we have some issues that are definitely looming for all the major currency crosses. There's a commodity trade on the table that is in jeopardy, that being oil and a bunch of other ones as well. and that could shake up the pound, the Australian dollar, Canada, a whole bunch of different currency crosses, both bullish and bearish. It depends on how things pan out. Are we going to see a repeat of last year? Well, we all hope not. But right now, from the way things are looking with the lockdowns in Australia, now New Zealand, now Singapore, these things are becoming restrictive in the Asian trade zone. So it hasn't quite hit Europe yet. If it does, then I see that we'll probably be back on support, most likely. If not, if Europe and the UK, especially because the pound is no longer part of the EU, if they can keep their lockdowns to a minimum and stay mostly open, if their economy does at least stay flat, we'll probably see this market stay sideways. It's going to be hard to get the pound US dollar to really sell off, and even if the dollar is a bull versus other currencies. So we may be, in the longer run, setting a very, if you look at how we came into here, we're coming off of a key resistance spot right here. This is from 2018. So you got to go back to 2018. Like, we dipped all the way down to March of 2020, came off of that. We've been rallying since March of 2020. So over a year and a half, we've been rallying into this point. This is the breakout zone. We came off a lower move low. So this whole big trend here has been making, from this high, lower move lows, lower move highs, spike low down here in 2020, and we have to take out this high right here at 143.91. This is where you get bullish the pound. If we can't get above these highs, then that's a very big problem. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see how this is panning out. This could be, the beginning of a continuation of this correction lower. So I'd be very mindful of the pound US dollar, but like I said, as long as the lockdowns don't get too severe, and especially if they stay decent in the UK, you're probably going to see this as a base, and we're most likely going to be chopping around between this probably $1.37 all the way up to $1.42, maybe even $1.43, and just continue to swing around in this for the next, could be 6 to 12 months. Right now, if you look at it on the long term, if we go back here from September, April, March, okay, if we go back to the beginning of the year, let's put this here. Here's January 1, January 4. All right, that's where we started out the year. We've been above that line for almost the whole year until July. We dipped below it. We made this lower move low, and now we're just above it. So as you can see that over the course of the whole last now 8 months, full 8 months, the British pound is basically flat on the year. So that tells you a lot. Now, not all the other currencies are like this, and that's a big deal as far as giving you a base for strength. So that's why we're saying right now we think it's going to be very neutral, and especially above $1.3706, you're positive on the year. Until you get below that, you're negative, and it hasn't stayed that much below that during the whole course of the year. So just be mindful of that. We're waiting for some trade setups. I'm pretty sure after today we are going to have some. US dollar Swiss, you want to talk about a blender the last week and a half. I mean, look at this trade. Excuse me. Overall, I'm bullish just because, for transparency, we are long this US dollar Swiss. This thing has been nuts the past couple days. I mean, you can see that this is Wednesday's trading. Monday, we came off the lows from Friday, made a lower low, but a higher move low from here. Came all the way back up. Then yesterday sold off, came back up, settled only slightly negative on the day. Then we rallied into today, made a higher move high on the weekly basis, and then now you can see we're only slightly higher on the day. This market is all over the place, but this also shows you something too, is that if you have strength in the euro US dollar and also in the pound US dollar, and like how the pound is just relatively flat on the year, US dollar Swiss is showing strength. That's the flight to quality currency. So I think with that divergence, it tells you that you're not going to maintain the strength in the euro, the pound perhaps, or at least neutral. But with the US dollar Swiss staying where it's at, chopping around, trying to make higher move highs, that just shows that there is dollar strength in the European when it comes to the EU and the European sector. And that's where you want to look for basically a reason to get on the dollar bull bandwagon again. So I'd look for reasons to buy the dollar on an hourly or daily basis versus trying to ride the bearish trend, because it spikes too much against you, and right now it seems like it's running out of gas because there's too many other factors that aren't holding in. Okay, now let's go to the US dollar JPY. Asian lockdowns and stuff like that, New Zealand and Australian lockdowns affect Central and Southeast Asia. A lot of things with trade and also stability for economies and stuff like that. That being said, US dollar yen also is wedging, but looking for a breakout to the upside. I would be very mindful of this 110.81 level. A rally above here, besides confirming higher move highs, sets us up where I think you're going to find a lot of buying pressure, just because all your weak shorts are going to be selling in front of multi-week and multi-month highs. The long-term projection to the upside we have is 112.5 to 113.5 within the next 2 months. Overall, before the end of the year, we're looking at the US dollar yen at 114.15 even, and that's regardless of what the dollar does with other currencies. We're just looking at the long-term perspective with the US dollar yen to be in that situation. I would be mindful of, if we fail from this low here of around 109.10, anything below here has us in a chop fest down to 107.5, 108 even. I think that would be the extreme that you would see for any sell-off. It's likely that you'll find a lot of support there, and then the resumption of the overall longer-term bullish trend for the US dollar JPY. All right, here's a trap forming right now. As we were speaking, Australian dollar is pushing higher move highs. You can see like a balloon underwater. We did have this buy signal right here. This was a bullish engulfing line buy signal that happened over on August the 21st or 23rd, and it has hit our short-term price targets. As far as a longer-term price target, if this is to be a very long-term low, that's where we have an issue. The trend here is very negative. I don't see a sustainable rally in the forecast, just for the mere fact is that we have all the lockdowns and issues with Australia on a fundamental basis because of those lockdowns and the coronavirus actions, and the fact that China's trade with them has been cut off at the throat. So that's a big deal unless they are renegotiating and figuring out where to send their raw commodities. That's going to have a very long-term impact on them. Now, China eventually will start bringing and importing stuff from Australia again. When is the key question, and I think that you're probably going to see China keep the foothold on their throats probably for the next few months, and then I think probably right in front of the Christmas holidays, before the Olympics and the Chinese New Year, that's when they're going to take their foot off the throat, kind of make themselves look really good in the world's eye, because they don't want to have any negative press when the whole world is looking on them during the Olympics. This is just my own personal take, and I think that you can, well, there's a trade there for sure. If that does become the case, that's when I think you'll see a bounce in Australian dollar. Over versus most crosses, Australian dollar is a bear. This is right now just a bullish correction. Be mindful of that. So if you're trying to get long here, use a very tight stop. And if you're trying to sell into this, I would wait for a valid signal before you jump on this. Okay, so that's pretty much where we're at with the Aussie, just because the long-term trade is in effect here. And to give you kind of an idea, if you look at the monthly, see this? This market has been in an overall bear trend for years. This goes back to 2011. So from 2011, let me go stretch it out here. Let me keep going to here. Look at where we're at. We're coming just into this off that 2011 high. We've been continuing to break. We came off this high here, fell short of this downward sloping resistance, and here we've been breaking since this is February of 2021, so for the last 6 months, okay, establishing a nice low in August. I would view this obviously as a lower move high because this high hadn't been taken out, so this was rejected. So this high is very, very crucial. So only if we were to get a rally all the way back above 80 would I say that, besides taking out the longer term trend and reversing gears, this would be the where you could see the Australian dollar, US dollar be heading into a neutral area, which would just be this gigantic area right here if you look at it. Look at this. The bulk of the trading is between this little area here. Not much has happened in the last 5 years. We had a nice trend lower from 18 into 2020, and from 2020 up into 2021 we had an explosive move back. We did all of this movement within a period of a year that took a few years there. Now we're having this corrective move lower. This is the key here, this base here, 69.84. If we fail from here, our longer term trend is back in place, and we need a rally above this area here. Okay, and you can see this goes out to 2023. Just staying underneath this little downward sloping resistance line keeps the pressure in this market below 80 even for the next 2 to 3 years. So looking for rallies to sell with the Australian dollar, US dollar. Very key long-term perspective that you need to have in your view. All right, two last currency crosses before we get to the cryptos. New Zealand dollar, US dollar is not making a newer move high yet today. It is trying to, but it has not done so. This is another one that has a lot of lockdown issues. Unlike Australia, it's not as controlled by China when it comes to its resources and its trade. It's a little more global. However, their own imposed lockdowns and restrictions are keeping them from having their economy jumpstart back into full gear. So these are things you have to watch out for. I'm not as bearish this currency as the Australian dollar. If you see this one turn before the Australian dollar, it's not divergence. It's probably just a good indicator of what's going to happen to the Australian dollar. It's very likely that the Australian dollar will follow the New Zealand dollar to the downside should dollar strength come in versus with this currency cross, or vice versa. So that's something you want to be mindful of. I would be cautious selling into these highs. You're coming into previous swing highs right here. We could get touchy and still spike above them, but as you see it, really for the whole bulk of summertime, we've been trading between 69 and right below above where we're trading at right now. So until we break out to the upside and sustain a trade, I would be very leery of where this market's at. Wait for a reason to sell if you're not long already, and if you are, keep your stops tight, ride this trend as best as you can, and then look for most likely a reason to sell, because the fundamentals just outweigh the technicals right now when it comes to this currency cross. US dollar Canada, talk about a mind screw here. This one has been in a corrective move higher since the beginning of the summer. It ran out of gas here at the end of August. Now we are going sideways and kind of at the middle upper part of the range that we've been trading in for the last month. I would wait for a breakout. Overall, I'm viewing this as a correction to the upside that has ended. I believe that we are more likely to test support and get a sell-off here in the US dollar Canada, especially as lockdowns continue. And as far as the restriction on commodity trades and things like that, I just think that's going to really, really be an impact on our relationship with the currency cross, just like the fundamental relationship between the U.S. and Canada. If we can get above this $21.27 area, well, then we're flirting with new higher move highs. But we could also be seeing the very beginning of a big head and shoulders. Perhaps this is a shoulder, and then perhaps this is a head, and now we are just looking to form a potential shoulder somewhere, you know. So that's the key question is, where is the shoulder? Will we make that happen and then fall off, or is it just to be a grind higher? So we'll see how this trend does go, but I would use this little neckline here and be very cautious of this market falling apart, and especially if it takes out this low here. So we'll see. I think right now you do have a head and shoulders kind of formation forming. I'm looking for a precipitous sell-off. Do I think it's going to be severe and get us all the way down to new move lows within a month or two? No, I think what you're going to do is see this market trend lower and grind into the end of 2021. So I'm not looking for any major reactions in the US dollar Canada, but I think you will be able to catch a nice trend. BTCUSD, here we go. We have the Bitcoin market on a little bit higher move momentum going on off of yesterday. Not much of a big range today yet. We made a lower move low from yesterday's trading, but we're higher on the day. I think you have to view this as we're heading into a holiday market, the end of the summer. There's the quarterly basis of the economy and stuff like that. I don't think really means anything. So, but I do think that you are getting kind of toppy, where you're going to see a lot of profit taking going on here. I don't think you have as much buying interest as you normally would at a lower level. And there's also the issue of the fact that we have some other cryptocurrencies that have made a nice run. Ethereum is trading at a nice level. I think you have good value at where it's at. Where it just had come off of in the lower 2000s, I think was a great buying area. And I believe you're probably going to see a little bit of a churning sideways trade with that, meaning that I am not bearish to cryptocurrency markets. I just think they're set up for a nice corrective move, which is normal for markets to do, to digest the action over time and prepare for a longer term bullish move over the next 6 to 8 months. So meaning that I think you're going to probably see Bitcoin bobbling between 50,000 and 45,000, with a chance of getting back down to this 40,000, 36,000 area over the next couple months. If you look at this rally, it's coming off of a very steep slope, and it came through it. Or I can even move it off of this low here. So be mindful of this. By attrition, we've fallen through this. Is it necessarily bearish right now? No, but I would also realize that if you get below this 46,000 area, like I said, 46,500, you're looking at a really good sell-off. And this could be here for sure, a shoulder, head, and we would have the shoulder right here. And if that's the case, if you look at this, oops, no, we don't want a solid line, we want a trend line. If this was the neckline there, and we put it through there, we already pierced that. All we gotta do is, for sure, we get below 46,277, folks. What do we have here? We have a big sell signal in the Bitcoin US dollar. Hasn't happened yet, but it is forming, so we'll see how that works out. ETH US dollar, let's look at this. This one has the big breakout to the upside. I think that's what's holding Bitcoin from sliding any more than it has, or it's holding it up. This higher move high, I'm long Ethereum, I'm very happy with it, but this is also a very steep slope. I think that you need to expect some profit taking coming in this area, and then I would look for another buying opportunity down in this area somewhere over here. So am I calling for a big correction? No, not at all. I just think it's very likely that we will fall through this trend line here and come somewhere into this area over the next couple months. I could be totally wrong. People are calling Ethereum at 40,000. I hope it goes there. I just don't see it happening in a very short amount of time. I see it wiggling and jiggling, gaining some more support here at 2,400 before it comes back up and makes a run for $4,000, $5,000 level. So use caution as far as your longs. I keep it tight and watch out and look for a reason to sell. XMR US dollar. This is on a nice little run itself. I would use caution. The closer you get to this 350, 400 is when you're probably going to run out of gas. I like it from 200 up to 350. So I would look for another area to have a buying opportunity down in here. But this trend is not as severe as the Ethereum trend that we were looking at. It's more of a 45. So if it can maintain this, then you're probably in a good situation. But if this is a head and shoulders forming here, I would be very cautious if Monero gets below 278 again. So this will be a good selling area right here where I would expect a slide that gets it back down to this 240 to 220 area before you get another bounce again. Now let's look at the DOGEUSD. Dogecoin USD. This market is hovering around this 30-cent level, the magic level that everyone said, oh, I just wish it would get back to 30 cents so I could buy it before it goes to 20,000. Well, it's having trouble with that above the 30-cent level. And we'll see how this forms too. If the rest of the cryptocurrency market continues to chop around, I expect Doge will do as well. If we have a sell-off in Bitcoin and Ethereum, then I think you will have a sell-off in this as well. So I would use Bitcoin as kind of like the dollar index for the crypto market, especially things such as this. And as far as overall direction and where I think it's going, I think, oops, this is not the right Doge. We got the Doge. Okay. Doge USD, there we go, same thing. All right, so now we have the right chart up. Okay, so once again, this one here in a short-term bear trend, making lower move lows, lower move highs, unlike the other markets that we looked at. So I think once again, should you see a sell-off in BTC and ETH at Monero and some of the other big ones, then it is very likely that you'll see Doge coming back, trickling back into this lower 20-cent area, 22-cent area. We may even get back into the teens, especially if you see Bitcoin sell off, say down to 40,000, even into upper 30,000 handles, then obviously Dogecoin has a very good chance at getting smashed and pounded back into the teens. So anyhow, I want to thank all of you for hanging out today and showing up for our Forex market and cryptocurrency trading analysis for September 1st. Since we were talking, we started with the euro. It is back up on its, still hanging below its highs, but that's all it's doing. It's not really, the momentum seems to have exhausted itself. So use caution. Remember, we're heading into the holiday markets, and if you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Forex Trading Unlocked, or our Twitch channel, Forex Trading Unlocked. Check out the book, High Probable Japanese Candlestick Patterns, available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle versions. We'll wait until today's close. We have some signals shaping up, but until they manifest, we cannot, we don't want to get in front of them, so we'll see what happens. Once again, I'm Teddy Keckstedt from Forex Trading Unlocked. Check us out every day at forex-trading-unlocked.com or on our YouTube and Twitch channel, Forex Trading Unlocked. Talk to you soon. We'll probably have a live stream with the trading signal up for you in just another few minutes.